The story begins at a roadside dinner where a truck driver stops for a meal. As he leaves, he notices Tom Job standing by the road, dressed in a new pair of shoes and clothes, which makes the driver curious about him. Tom asks him for a ride, and though the driver hesitates, he agrees, believing a good man will help him. During the drive, Tom remains cautious about what he shares. The driver asks him questions, but Tom keeps most things private. Eventually, Tom relaxes, drinks some alcohol, and offers the driver a drink, but he refuses. Feeling more at ease, Tom reveals he just got out of prison after serving 4 years for killing a man in a fight. He was sentenced to 7 years but was released early on parole due to good behavior. Tom explains the killing wasn't planned and it was self-defense, so he doesn't feel guilty. As they near Tom's destination, he asks the driver to drop him off by the road. He thanks him and walks toward his family's farm.
As Tom walks home, he notices a turtle struggling to cross a highway. The turtle faces many obstacles, including cars speeding past and a man who deliberately tries to run it over. Despite these challenges, the turtle keeps moving forward, symbolizing perseverance. Tom picks up the turtle as a gift for his younger siblings, Rudy and Winfield. After walking for a long time under the hot sun, Tom searches for a shade to rest. He finds a tree that seems to offer shade, but as he gets closer, he discovers that a man is already resting underneath it. This man is Jim Casey, a former preacher who tells Tom that he gave up his ministry after realizing that preaching about sin didn't truly help people. Casey now believes that true holiness is found in shared human experiences and connections. During their conversation, Casey opens about his doubts and his search for a new purpose. He also admits that during his time as a preacher, he had sexual relations with some of the women in his congregation, which further contributed to his decision to leave the church. Tom, initially reserved, begins to open a little and reflects on his own life. He shares that he was recently imprisoned for killing a man in a fight and that he is now returning home. Casey, still searching for meaning, decides to join Tom on his journey. As Tom and Casey approach the Joe family farm, Tom grows excited, but when they arrive, he finds that the house is abandoned and there is no sign of his family. This leaves Tom feeling uncertain and filled with doubt. After spending the night with Muley, Tom and Casey walk to Uncle John's house, where the Joes are staying. Pa Joe, surprised to see Tom, asks if he escaped from jail. Tom explains he was released early for good behavior. Pa says that they are preparing to move to California and he had planned to send Tom a letter. Wanting to surprise Ma Joe, Pa told her that two men are joining them for breakfast. When Tom enters, she is shocked, carefully touches his face, and then becomes overjoyed. The rest of the family, Grandpa, Grandma, Al, Rudy, and Winfield also celebrate his return. Tom introduces Jim Casey, a former preacher, and the family welcomes him warmly, especially Grandma. As every family prepares to leave, they decide what few items to bring in the truck. To raise money, they hold yard sales, selling tools, furniture, and clothes for very low prices, since the buyers take advantage of the situation. Though angry and ashamed, They need the money to survive the trip, and the Jones end up with an amount of $154. Rose of Sharon and Connie join the group. Tom worries about leaving the state while he is on parole and doubts about the promises of California. Mayo explains him that they found a flyer that said that they needed 800 workers and they don't have another choice than go to California to have a better life. That night, they agreed to leave the next morning. They invited Casey to come. Everyone helps and they get ready at time. And they slaughter 2 pigs to have food. When Grandpa Joe refuses to go, Tom gives him sleeping medicine to get him on the truck. Muley says goodbye to everyone and agrees to take care of 2 of their 3 dogs. They bring only one with them. At dawn, the Joes head west, with all driving and with Ma and Grandma up the front.
The Joes begin their journey west on Route 66. Tired but hopeful, they stop at a service station to eat, where the men there criticize migrants, calling them Okies. But there, the Joe's dog runs into the road and is hit by a car, which deeply upsets the family, especially Uncle John, who feels guilty for not stopping the dog. They continue driving until nightfall, and Elle suggests they should stop and make camp. They pull over next to another traveling family, the Wilsons, who are also headed to California. As they unload, Grandpa Joe becomes very ill. The Wilsons kindly offer their tent so he can rest. Sadly, Grandpa dies that night. Since they can afford a proper burial, the family decides to bury him themselves, even though it's against the law. They dig a deep grave, wrap his body, and leave a note explaining who he was and why they had the money, hoping it will keep the authorities from accusing them of foul play. The family gathers for a small ceremony, and Cassie agrees to say a prayer, though he struggles with it. After the burial, the Joes thank the Wilsons and see that the Wilsons' car is broken, so they offer help. Pajot insists that must they have traveled together. They agree, and both family camps for the night, planning to continue the trip together in the morning.
The Joad family finally crosses the desert and enters California. The journey becomes even tougher, and Grandma dies during the night, but Ma keeps it as a secret so the family can continue moving without delay. Once they reach the California border, the family starts to see signs that life in the West might not be as promising as they hoped. They meet other migrants who warn them that jobs are scarce and that locals are hostile toward Okies. The harsh reality of what lies ahead begins to sink in, and tensions rise among the family. The Jodes arrive at a Hooverville, a makeshift camp of struggling migrants. Their conditions are poor, with little food, sanitation, or hope. Tom learns more about the growing tension between the migrants and authorities. A contractor arrives offering work, but he will not give details or a contract. When one man questions him, a fight breaks out, and the police arrested the man. Jim Casey steps in to protect Tom and ends up getting arrested instead, sacrificing himself for the family. Meanwhile, the Joes continue to struggle with dueling resources, and Connie abandoned Rose of Sharon. The Joes prepared everything to leave the Hooverville in search of better conditions.
The Jobs continue living at the Wheat Patch Camp, where they experience dignity and order throughout the camp's self-governance. A Saturday night dance is being held, and the camp leaders get prepared for possible trouble. They have been warned that outsiders may try to start a fire, so the police have an excuse to raid and shoot down the camp. Thanks to a strong organization and vigilance by the residents, the plan is foiled peacefully. Tom helps out and starts learning more about organizing and standing up for the rights of workers.
The Judge family is forced to leave the Witchpat camp because there is still no work available nearby, and their money and food are running out. They travel north and eventually find work picking peaches. Tom soon discovers that the workers are being exploited and that a strike is happening outside the orchard. Then Tom secretly meets a former pitcher, Jim Casey, who is helping to organize the strikers. Because of this, Cassie is killed by a strike breaker during the meeting. In a moment of rage, Tom kills the man who murdered Cassie, then goes into hiding. The Joes hide Tom in a cave and prepare to run away to avoid suspicion. Ma shows strength and calm as they plan their next move, keeping the family together, and they stay in wagons near the cave. The rain continues, flooding the boxcar where the Judge had been living. As the flood waters rise and food runs out, Rose of Sharon becomes sick and goes into labor. Tragically, her baby is stillborn. With the flood making their shelter unlivable, the family is forced to move again.
Then they find an old barn on higher ground where they encounter a starving man and his son.
The boy explained that his father is dying because he hasn't eaten in 6 days. In a powerful and symbolic final scene, Rose of Sharon breastfeeds the starving man, offering him the only food she has left. She does it silently, with a mysterious and peaceful smile. And remember, in a world full of injustices, generosity, compassion, and self-sacrifice keep hope alive.